Sabler, USK Education Director. We're back this weekend. We're back with a new batch of USK instructors, or at least one of them. Thank you all for joining us. I see USK Puebla. I see all the familiar faces and new faces and hearts. Good to see you all. Good night. Santino Camila. Hello Eileen from San Francisco. I'm bringing you tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon. For him it's this morning. I'm bringing you the Monsieur Richard Briggs from Sydney. And Eduardo, here you are. We're looking for Eduardo. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to both of them. Think of good questions to ask them. They will be sharing what they're bringing to our symposium in Auckland, New Zealand in only a few weeks. So hopefully you can glean something from their tips, from their sketches, from their demos, and I am happy to chat with them today. So let me see if I can get Eduardo. There's always the moment of
Hey.
Oh.
Hello, Rita.
Here he is. I wasn't sure if it was
showing the wall in front of me. Yes, I can. Yes, that's good.
You made it.
Good to see you.
It. I am so happy. Good to see you too. So Eduardo, you joined us
from São Paulo, Brazil.
Yes.
It's 9 o'clock now here in the night, so it's funny to have everyone in different time zones, like you in the morning, me in the night, and also Richard in the morning in Sydney, right? Hello, Richard.
Yes.
Amazing.
Richard is, he's ready, and it's Sunday morning for him. So Eduardo, tell us about your workshop. What are you hoping to bring to New Zealand?
First, I'm very excited to be to New Zealand for the first time, and I'm looking forward to the symposium again. And I will teach a workshop about using pencils, only pencils, and it's a technique I've been developing for a long time now, and it's also a different approach, which is working with masses of graphite and skipping the contour lines, the line drawing, just getting to the shapes and the masses and the contrasts. So I'm looking forward to it. It's I taught this technique before in other symposiums, but now I've been developing another way to use the graphites with the powder, and so I think it's going to be interesting, and it's a new approach for different like a different technique.
Yes, it's fantastic that you are talking to me on the same day that I'm talking to Richard, because both of you work with basically a black line tool, but you're always thinking in masses and values. Your drawings have this amazing tonal quality to them, and Richard works only in line.
Nice contrast.
So the contrast, even when you use a similar tool, the contrast of the way you see the world and the way you capture it on paper, or in his case, not necessarily on paper, because he's also capturing it
Yes,
on any
exactly.
surface. But tell me a little bit about, well, show us. We would love to see
All right.
an
Sure.
example of your sketch. And
Yeah,
what you're
that's
talking about.
I was looking at Richard's work, and it's impressive. It's really beautiful the way he works with lines and connecting everything with the lines. I usually work with different techniques, and sometimes watercolors, or sometimes just lines with a pen or markers. I'm kind of keep changing the techniques and approaches.
You're always
Yeah,
experimenting, always looking for a
yeah.
new way
Between these
to,
watercolor,
yeah.
graphite. I taught a workshop with markers before. Also, the same idea to work with masses was interesting. But now I think this technique helps beginners to develop a different look at things, like looking at the bold of the masses, and also for advancers, sketchers, it's a different way to look at things and and a good experimentation. And yeah, so I would like to show you some of the sketches. Yeah.
Please,
And then I
please.
can make a quick demo if we have time to, right? So this is a drawing I have just made it this weekend. Oh, my cat is
Oh,
here.
wow.
She's pissing pissing me off.
She wants to be
Yes.
online
So
as
this
well.
is a drawing I just made it, and it was this technique. I started with a bold mass of graphite and started to uh, kind of sculpt the, the, the masses of the vegetation. And here the challenge was to find some shapes that were uh, easily recognized, right? Because if you look at a forest, it's hard to sketch, and then you have to look something that grabs our
Yes,
attention, right? This is another one with
yes.
it's a small church,
Oh, it's
and
beautiful.
here it was nice because the light
Mm-hmm.
was very strong and the facade of the church was
Mm-hmm.
very bright, so I could remove the graphite with a kneaded eraser, and so the light came up really nicely, I think. And I have also another sketchbook here. I have some examples of. Oh, here it's a sketch I didn't finish. So here you can see how it begins. Like it's very, yeah, it's a very
Oh,
broad way to start, and sometimes a little bit challenging to deal with uh, of the masses. This is another drawing. Here we can see it. It was developed.
there's so
Yeah,
much
this
detail that
one
you can
is.
do
Yeah,
with
sometimes
pencil
with
just
this
all over.
technique, one thing I like is that if I want to, I can develop the sketches a little bit further afterwards. Like this one, for example, I started on location and worked there for like 2 hours, and then I
Mm-hmm.
scanned the drawing when I came home and I kept working on it for I don't know, maybe 2 or more hours. So this one I couldn't say that this is urban sketches sketchers per se, but but it's nice because you have kind of two results. One, which is the sketch you do on location, and another one more finished, with a more finished look, so you can scan it and have two different drawings. And also, I'm gonna ask-
Eileen asked a question that I am struggling with as well. When I work in pencil, I like the line, but it's almost impossible for me not to smudge it. And she was asking specifically, once you close the sketchbook, if the pencil marks transfer over on the other side
well,
of the page.
when I work with graphite, I don't mind to close my sketchbook, and sometimes I can see that the drawings get a little smudged, but I really don't mind. I scan the drawings as soon as I can, as soon as possible, but I don't mind to have them a little dirty. It's part of the game. It's part of the business. So
And there's another question that actually I
all
also
right.
had. Why do you scan it? Do you continue drawing on the print of it, or
Well, yeah,
what happens after you scan
I
it?
scanned the drawings to freeze the way they look after I leave the place. Like it's a way to have it scanned in a digital image. So and then I work at on the same drawing in my sketchbook. I developed for a little further away, but not so much. Not to. I try to avoid losing its freshness. Even though I'm working a little bit at home, I try not to go too far. So it's a balance. It's a nice balance. I keep working just to refine some of the edges, make it some shapes more visible. Like for instance, this was a drawing I finished totally on location. I sketched this workshop.
Wow.
He was a shoemaker, and I sketched him for like maybe 3 hours or so. The whole place. I spent a lot of time with him, talking to him, and getting to know him. And I sketched him twice in the same drawing, and it was funny because once I arrived back home, I looked at the drawing and I didn't want to make anything else. I couldn't even write, the date or something, like, because it was just the whole experience that was printed in my sketchbook. So I didn't want to change it, you
Yeah.
know. But
It's the technique and the detail with which you work. It almost feels like an old style photograph, yet it's so soft and so
yeah, I
personal.
like. Mm.
It's
Thank
just
you.
beautiful.
I
Thank
enjoy
you, Eduardo.
graphite a lot.
And your workshop is sponsored by Cretacolor, who's generously providing a lot of
Yes,
supplies
yes,
for our sketchers. So if you're coming to the symposium,
yes.
be
We're
ready.
gonna get these.
There's a lot of good stuff waiting for you. Yes.
Yeah,
So show
of
us
course.
maybe. Thank you,
Yeah,
Cretacolor, if you're watching, and show us some of the tools that the workshop
yeah. The
participants
participants gonna
will get
get
to use
this
in the workshop.
nice case, so you can it's folded, and so here we have some of the tools. So we have all these
Oh.
this case to. Yeah,
all this
Yeah, for a
space
lot of,
for more.
I don't know,
You can have
colored
hundreds of
pencils and another pencils and pens, and it's nice. And the pencils are these. So we're going to work with from 2B to 6B. Also, we have a 9B here, which is very dark. It's nice. And they're going to have a nice sharpener. It's very good. I try it. My pencils are red used. And oh, I forgot the name of these. Stump? Is that? Oh, I forgot. Stump. I think it's
I
stump.
I forgot the
Really,
name of it too. I never
it's
use
nice.
it, but it basically, what does it allow you to do? It allows you to create this really nice
Yeah,
tone by smudging the pencil mark,
I
right?
use now. I use them only to finish to make some finishes. Like at the very end of the process, you can use it to blending
Blending
stuff.
some.
Yes,
Kiwi
yes.
teacher,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
But yeah, we have also have these very nice pencil. This they call Mega Graphite, and I try it, and it's really nice. It's really dark, almost black, and needed eraser, and also these two graphite bars, which we are going to use in our workshop. So that's it. It's a very nice kit of tools, and I'm looking forward to handle it for my participants, my students. Yeah, good.
Fantastic. Yes, it looks like
Yeah,
a
it
great
is.
kit. So, Eduardo, for those of us who won't be able to be in your workshop, can you share us some advice or some tip that it will just give us a chance to steal a little bit
Yeah,
of
all
your
right,
magic?
sure. So may I change my camera? I think I'm gonna change it for to show my table here. Just 1 second. There we go. Whoops. Let me organize here.
Perfect.
So this is I made this quick grid here just to make sure I have it in the center of the image, and I have this photograph that I took a few months ago, and it's a nice place. I like the shapes. I usually tend to enjoy sketching these kind of rundown places. So it's a perfect subject for me, and it's unpretentious. Yeah, so it's really nice. I'm gonna keep the drawing here, and the idea, which I am still developing, and it's to rub. Can I say that? Scratch a little bit of graphite here, and
With a knife.
so
So you
yeah.
just sprinkled a little bit of graphite with a knife from your pencil.
And then yeah,
Around.
we can start with just this is a toilet paper, and this is my cat. She's willing to get into the picture. She's around me whenever I teach. By this time of the day, she's really excited, and she keeps coming in front of the camera. It's funny. So yeah.
She's your muse.
So this is the idea of the at the start of the drawing. Here I frame it, but we don't have to frame. And so we can start applying the graphite like this. This is not the best position because the camera is just in front of me, but the idea is working like that, not outlining, but looking at the masses, connecting those shapes as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So very bold. We can make it quickly. So have some small shapes here. We have a shape around here. I'm gonna make it a little faster than I usually do, right? It's because it's a demo. So here we have some smaller shapes around here and a shape that comes through here. There's a shadow there. So we can do this again, and we have all the biggest shapes into the picture, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
we can start using. I could work a little bit more in these shapes just to get them at their places better, but just to show a little bit of the process, you can start using the needed eraser like this. So all the lights, I can take it out from this mass of graphite like that. And so it's like I could say that it's a typical approach of painting, but using pencils, right? Uh, and then I could start developing the shapes a little bit better, trying to make everything in place, to put everything in place like this. The darker shapes gonna be a little darker, a little. I'm gonna keep them dark, and I use those small windows just uh, to develop the shapes, right? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it can be very loose. I have some satellite dishes around here and some very interesting shadow shapes here. I'm gonna show you the screen. There's this wall around here, another small window there. I like this, the way people build their homes, like unprivileged uh, people. I mean, they keep building their homes as possible they can. So I like to go to into the communities. It's amazing. I've been to last year. Went to Rio and I sketched in the big community there, and the place is unbelievable. It's amazing to sketch. It's very so interesting with all those uh, all those uh, intricacies, you know. So I like this subject. Yeah, all the
And
textures,
textures. Yeah.
different textures, different shapes, all chaotic, and it's very attractive for me in terms of course, in terms of artistical uh, way to see them. And it was I spent a whole afternoon there and sketched some children. They were really excited to see me sketching there. It was, yeah,
I'm
they
sure.
were very, very happy, and it was an amazing time. And I went there by my own. I asked some guys if I could go there and sketch into their communities, and so they were really uh, nice with me. They say it's no problem. You can go there. It's safe. And after a while, I was just in the heart of the community, sketching with the children, and it was really, really nice. I I did this before. So here you can see that I put everything in place. I could spend a little more time. There's a crane here. I could spend some more time developing those shapes and uh, uh, paying attention to the proportions. But this kind of subjects, we don't get too attached to them, because they're not they're not like I can move those windows if it's good for me. So I like it because when I sketch a kind of a museum or a famous building, I get too attached to it, and I try to
You have to be more precise.
So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
mm.
It's amazing how quickly
it can be the beginning
goes.
is can be quick, and then after a while, if you want to develop really more detailed look, and you can spend hours sketching. Which the thing that I like about sketching with pencils, that I can sketch very. Now I'm not calm, of course, because we're doing a live on Instagram. But when I am working on the streets, I can be very, very calm. Very.
It's meditative. Well, as if you're still joining us now, I'm talking to Eduardo from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and he's showing his technique of drawing with graphite pencil that he will be teaching at the 11th International Symposium that's happening in New Zealand in April. Thank you, Eduardo, so much. I'm not sure if there's some technical issues.
I'm back. All right. Sorry. Sorry about that. Something happened here. Anyway, I have another. This is the very beginning. I worked here for like 10 minutes or so. The next step would trying to. I would take another eraser like this one, and I can start bringing some of the lights out of it, like this. This paper is nice. It has a smooth texture, but not too smooth. It's very delicate texture. The only problem with this paper I've been using, it grabs the dirt of the eraser. I don't know why, and I have to catch, those with a.
I love the idea that you're going back and forth between positive and
Yeah,
negative space with your tools and creating
exactly.
lighter values on
Like,
top
for
of the pencil
example,
marks.
these windows here, I can bring the lights from the graphite, and it's all open and to changes. If I make a mistake here, I can move this window easily. I try to avoid making the shapes too dark at the beginning, so I can make small changes. but then after a while, when I have here the satellite dishes, when I have everything in place, I have another step here. Like if I was working for a little longer, right? It's darker, a little darker than this, but the idea is to have uh, all the shapes in place, and I could keep developing and making the shapes darker, like this window. That would be the darkest dark, like this. And there's a point that the sketch is it reaches a stage that is um, very pleasant to work because everything is there. Uh, all the shapes you have these a range of values, and the perspective, if we have some perspective like this wall here, we can make it in position, can make it better, and we can erase, go back and forth, of course, because we're working with graphite. So yeah, that's it. And I think
Great. That looks that looks amazing.
Mhm.
Somebody asked what kind of paper
Sorry,
do
what
you
kind
use?
of paper?
Paper.
So this is a this paper, Hannemille sketch. It's really nice. I love this paper. I've been doing lots of drawings with this paper, like this one. It's a different kind of a different approach, but it's with this paper, and I like its texture. It's really pleasant to work with. Like I've been doing a lot of drawings for my courses, sometimes even some small portraits. Yeah, that's a very good paper. I'm gonna uh, uh, one. I just we could avoid a very smooth kind of paper, which we cannot play with the graphite, like smudging in like this. So that's the only. I think that's the only thing to avoid. I can use even like this random printing paper. You know, it's nice to work with. Uh, I think just kind of a glossy. If the paper has some percentage of a glossy surface, that would be not good for this technique, right?
Yes. So it needs to have a little bit of grab, but it could be pretty
Yes. Yeah.
simple paper. Eduardo,
Oh, all
thank you
right.
so much. It
Thank you.
was so great. You're back. We have to
All
get
right.
Richard
Sorry if I took
on
too long.
to join us for a minute. It was perfect. It was great. There was just one more question that I saw flash by. Real quick, let me see. Do you know anything about graphite powder and the best way to apply
Yeah,
it?
I
Or do you ever
never
use it?
use graphite powder. I've been using just using these bars because it's just a very small amount of powder just to cover the paper a little bit. And you can also use
Yeah,
those bars just to make some small shapes too, which is nice, like small windows or something like this.
perfect. Yeah, and they're square. And those are those also by
Yes,
Cretacolor?
yes, those are also clear color.
Yes, yes.
This 4B bar, and there is another a smaller one. So they're all great. And graphite is good because
Perfect.
it's easy to clean up if you smudge your fingers. I don't mind them. it's like watercolor. It's easy to work with, and very clean. Right? It's a nice technique. I love it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for sharing so generously, and we thank Credit Color for sponsoring the symposium and sponsoring this
All
workshop.
right.
They're providing a ton of
Nice,
tools
nice.
for all
Yeah,
of the participants, not just for people in your workshop. And I'm happy if you can stick
sure.
around for just a second. I'm going to ask both you and Richard something about the
All right.
symposium. So let's get Richard on.
Ah,
All the way
oh,
from
cool.
Sydney,
Hey,
Australia. There
Hello,
he is.
hello, hello,
Hi,
Richard.
Richard.
Eduardo. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Very well, thank
Because of
you.
the
Nice to see you.
Nice
Nice to see you,
to
Rita.
see you. Oh, cool. Nice that we're
to
all
see you
together.
both.
Yeah, I love your story about
Yes,
your stay in
I
Rio de Janeiro. I had a similar experience as well. Incredible.
Yes, really, is an amazing city. It's an impressive city.
Mm.
It's incredible.
great place to sketch. So tell me both, what are you most excited about as far as the next symposium? It's been a while. You've come to many symposiums, both of you. I've seen you, I've known you for many years. Tell me something that you're super excited about to come back to again in a couple of
Eduardo.
months.
Well, it's going to be my eighth symposium, I think. Yes, and
Ooh.
it's going to be the fifth time I'm gonna teach. So it's always wow. It's I get a little anxious before, of course, but once I am there, I enjoy it a lot, and it's a very intense experience, but it's amazing. It's something to remember for many years, for forever. It's
Mhm.
really a wonderful experience. I love it.
Well said.
Absolutely. This will
Richard?
be my third symposium teaching, fourth one attending. And I think the thing I like about it the most is just forming connections with people that maybe you just know through Instagram or haven't met, or that you meet for the first time and learning together. You can learn so much from everyone. And I think just the sense of community, actually being in a place that maybe some people have never been to before, or maybe have been to before, and just essentially just kind of taking over a city, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And just sketching everywhere. And yeah, I think the sense of community and the spirit and the energy generated from the people in the symposium, both instructors, faculty, and everyone attending, and people of the city where the symposium is based, is really something to behold, actually.
Yes. Totally agree.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you.
Eduardo. We're going to give the
Yeah,
spotlight to
sure.
Richard
Thank you
now.
very much.
And
I enjoyed a lot, and I hope people could enjoy a little bit of my work. So I'm looking forward to see everyone at the symposium.
I think you've gained a lot
Nice.
of
Thank you.
fans.
Thank you
You've
very
gained a
much.
lot of fans.
Have a
Amazing
nice
More
work,
fans.
Eduardo.
evening or a nice day. Thank you, Richard. See you soon.
See you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao. Well, Richard, I like to think of you as sort of Banksy of blue tape. You don't just draw in your sketchbook, you draw in the city itself.
Sorry,
And
Rita. Should I do something here
it's a
to
yeah, I think you can just press the little
all
exit
right
cross on the
here?
right, and that
Okay.
should work.
Excellent.
Here we go. Um, so tell us the name of your workshop and what you'll be sharing,
Yeah, sure.
and your demo as
So
well.
hello everyone. Great to see everyone. Well, you can't see everyone, but everyone online. Hello. So the title of my workshop is Simple Snippets of Tamaki Makaro, and that Auckland, Auckland in the Maori language, and it means a place of natural resource and geography, a place of desire. So it's like I think it's really a beautiful culture in New Zealand, the Maori culture. So really, the aim of the workshop really is how can we capture the essence of place? I mean, I guess sometimes what we see in an urban context, and even as Eduardo talked about the forest analogy, which I thought was amazing, can be visually overwhelming and complicated, and you just, where do you start? Which bits are important? So the aim of this workshop is really to try and approach that in a way of like looking first and observing, which is something I'm a big advocate for in all of the work that I do. And really just don't sketch is the first step. It's almost sort of like anti-sketching, almost in a way of just looking and exploring. And then the more you look and explore, the more you can notice things that maybe you wouldn't notice if you just sort of went to the place and sat down and started doing a sketch. But it's really about how rather than studying a wider scene, you can sort of break it down into simple shapes, simple elements, simple little snippets, so I call them snippets, like little sections of a street, of a street scene, of a shop sign, or architecture space, what people are doing. So when you do that, the sort of the process that you undertake in doing that means that you can do a pretty simple sketch. So it's all going to be line work sketches, and if it's simple, maybe it could be a little bit more punchy and focused, and be playful with composition as well.
So how much time in proportion do you spend looking, observing to sketching? Is it more on the first, less on the second?
I mean, sort of like, for example, if I was going to a place I didn't really know, so I've been to Auckland once before, but I don't know it very well at all. And then I probably spend like maybe 75-80% of the time sort of looking, observing what people are doing, how people move through space, looking above eye level. It's always interesting to look up as well. And then sort of really trying to work out, well, what's the story of this place for me, and what am I learning about this place through looking, and then trying to instill that into a simple sketch. So it's usually, as I think as a lot of people know, I sketch pretty quickly. So yeah, it's usually a very small proportion is the actual doing. It's more of a looking.
Yeah. Maybe you can show us some examples and sort of describe what drew your attention, or why you selected that particular section, that particular snippet, as you call it.
Sure. Well, I'm just going to start off with this sketch here. I don't know if you can kind of see that. That's in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, which is a beautiful city to draw. And the reason I thought I'd show this to start off with, this is an example of me not really thinking about what I was drawing. I just went ahead, drew it. I was late for my flight, as is usually the case. And I sort of almost ran out of paper as well. So you can kind of see this, it's an okay sketch, but it's sort of lacking a bit of focus. So maybe another example, this is in Sydney.
So
exactly.
You're telling us not to
so
do
this
that.
is, I don't know if you can kind of see
first.
this.
Okay.
Maybe I'll zoom out. So this is maybe a little bit more of a considered sketch, in that we've got a lot of blank space. This is actually a awning which protects from the afternoon sun in this little market shop in a place called Marrickville in Sydney. So this is an example of how you can, just by looking and observing, you can kind of go, well, that awning is really important to the sketch, so I'm just going to leave it blank, and everything else all the density can sort of dance around it, and there's people moving. So you're really sort of thinking about how people are using the space. And
there's compositionally, you have this immense contrast of 2/3
And
of
you
it
can sort
being
of
blank.
take this
Yes.
approach and do something incredibly simple like this. This is just, again, in the same kind of place with a focus of density and texture, or I guess, well, maybe not texture, but materiality and movement. And then sort of the sketch can sort of just fade off on the edges a little bit. So I think, yeah, that's sort of one way that I approach sketching, I guess.
One of the most frequent things I hear from my students is how to stop, how to not overdo it. How do you select and not draw everything? Do you have any suggestions for my students?
I think almost if you look pretty hard, first of all, you can kind of make those decisions a little bit early on. Obviously, our environments change. You know, for example, how many times have we all sat down and go, all right, I'm going to draw that, and then a truck appears or something and parks right in front of your view, or you just
Oh yeah,
yeah, you're just going to
that's a
draw these
classic.
people sitting down, but then they move, and it's like, well, what happens now? But it's really, I think, as soon as in your mind that question pops into your head, that's when to stop. As soon as you kind of go, should I stop now? It's like, well, that's it, cut, that's it, finish. Exactly.
Don't overthink it. Stop now. Stop. Have you ever sketched anything and you felt like it wasn't enough?
Well, that's a really good question. Have I got an example of that? Yeah, I think I have actually. I think there's like a few times where you kind of finish a sketch and you walk away from wherever it was and you kind of go, oh, gosh, it would have been really good just to have that little bit of a component sort of on the top part just to help with the composition and the flow of what it visually looks like. So, you know, I guess there's been a few moments like that, but rule number one, never add. I just, that's a sketch, it's one take. You just got to go and draw it again in a different situation. And maybe you learn from each sketch that you do as well. I think that's also quite an important thing to think about.
So here we go. Sort of the opposite of what Eduardo does. He spends 2 or 3 hours on location. He comes back home, scans it, and then continues working on it. And you are spending so much time just kind of looking and distilling it to the essence and then stopping.
Yeah, like this is another example. I mean, this is a pretty significant icon in Sydney. It's the Sydney Harbour Bridge. But to sort of, I really thought about, well, what is it all about? It's actually how it crosses the water and connects two parts of the city. So it's really, so this kind of composition, whilst it's sort of got a lot of detail in there, which talks about the structure, the trees in the distance suggest, and the city in the distance kind of suggest, you know, its geography and how it connects its geography. But yeah, with this one, I did think, oh, should I add more patterning to the steelwork of the bridge? But no, I left it. And I'm glad I did.
I'm happy that you're always happy with your decisions.
Oh no, I doubt myself 100% every time. Just secretly. Yeah, you've got
not in public.
You got to question. You got to sort of question yourself, because I think that's how you learn. You know, what would you do differently? Would you do anything differently? So I think it's always good to sort of push yourself a little bit in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question about your background, if you're an architect.
Yes, I am. So I studied, how did anyone guess? I studied architecture in Manchester. So that was actually the first symposium I went to, was in Manchester in 2016. And that was amazing because it was actually held in the school of art, in the building where I learned how to draw effectively, or where this all sort of started back in year dot. So yeah, I am an architect. I practice as an architect, but also I do a lot of public artworks as well. So that's something that I've been doing a lot in the last couple of years. And that's a really nice way to take the urban sketching into a different realm in both scale and in both materials used and how it relates to public space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember walking to my workshop in Amsterdam and almost falling down because I was about to step on something that looked like a piece of art. And it was made out of, I couldn't tell at the time what it was. I thought it was like a blue paint or something. It was right on the pavement. And it made such a big impression on me because it was so simple and yet so beautiful, and just kind of the interesting way of using space, public space, and something like a sidewalk as your canvas. And then shortly after, I was told that, oh, Richard is doing this blue tape drawing on, yes, blue tape Bansky is doing his work. So your demo will be all about that, correct? And we have a great video that I'll be showing just at the very end of our interview about your approach, and with some great examples of the blue tape, excuse me, work that you've done. But before we do that, are there something you'd like to share, like a tip for sketchers who are watching, who might not be able to join us?
Sure, I think I'm just going to show you this sketch here. So this is like a sketch also in Sydney. I guess I think of a lot of what I see in patterns. And I find if you think, first of all, in shapes, it's like a square, for example, then you think of the patterns that exist in that square. It really sort of brings a lot of, it really makes the sketch come alive, the sort of the patterning aspect. Also, another tip that I do, in order to test if the sketch is okay, I turn it upside down. And if it looks okay upside down, it passes.
Mine usually look better upside down.
So
I don't know if you feel the same.
Actually, there could be actually quite different upside down, but yeah. So I think that's a tip, is sort of if you start to think of things in patterns, they could be squares, triangles, circles. I think that's a really manageable way to think about, you know, invariably our surroundings are incredibly complicated, like visually, and can be overwhelming when you're staring at a blank, you know, sketchbook, like what do I sketch? So that's one tip. Yeah.
Draw a simple shape. There you go. Simplify, find the essence, reduce it to a simple shape. Any more questions before we let Richard go and finish with a great video about his work? We won't unfortunately be able to see the full video, but if you'd like to watch his demo on paper and the rest of the video, all of this is being posted on Urban Sketchers YouTube channel, so you can continue exploring and getting inspired. And Richard, I can't wait to see you in New Zealand. It's always great fun definitely. To chat with you. Great positive energy.
I know. I was just thinking of, was it in Porto, like when we were having like a big joke about the correspondence?
Yes.
No.
We're always making fun of us for drawing constantly.
Of the work that you do. It's incredible.
Here's a question. I'm not sure what they need, but they're asking you what do you think of the more illustrative
books? I think like
maybe somebody who draws in more than just
I totally think that there's sketching for all. Think of sketching for all. It could be any style, it could be any medium, it could be any approach to sketching. I think that's really amazing and important to embrace that. And that's what's great about the symposium. You just get so many different types of sketches, doing different things, different mediums. So I think, like I do illustration work as well, which is a little bit different from an urban sketching sort of context and approach, maybe a little bit more measured, maybe a little bit less loose. But there's a place for everything. There's a place for every type of drawing, sketch, artwork, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a big umbrella.
absolutely.
Everybody's welcome. Well, Richard, thank you so much. We really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you,
Thank you, Eduardo.
Eduardo. And for the rest of you, please don't go anywhere. We're going to share a great video with Richard.
Thank
And
you
we'll
so
see you
much,
next
Rita.
weekend.
It's really such an honor to teach at this symposium, and it's great to share the screen with you and see you in Auckland in April.
Yay!
All right, see you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Don't go anywhere. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Richard Briggs, and I'm an artist and an architect, and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I use tape to explore the city and express how I see the spaces around me. One of the main reasons I use tape as a tool to explore the cities is the process of simplification of what we see. And in using this as a medium, you have to simplify what you see. I'm really thinking about, well, if I was drawing this on a sketch pad with a pen, I'd probably put about 5 or 6 lines here, but with this, I can only put 1 line. So which line is it going to be? It's very low tech, it's temporary as well. And I also see that when I complete a tape drawing, I give it as a gift to the city. I like to do these sorts of drawings in the hidden gems of the city, which are usually can be non-places or abandoned laneways, abandoned buildings that may highlight a particular urban juxtaposition or change that is occurring in the city. One of the tape drawings we did today was all about the relationship of large-scale new development versus small-scale historic development. Both residential premises, it actually describes how the home has changed over the last 100 years. I first started using tape as a tool to explore the cities, and really as a response to how can I legally place my art in public spaces. This doesn't damage any property, so therefore it's something I can use in that way. It really allowed me to explore in terms of scale. I could really go quite large scale with the artworks, and it also allowed me to put the artworks in unusual places as well. I like doing this because it really allows me to sort of, it's really spontaneous usually. There's a little bit of planning involved, but not too much, and I think that really, that spontaneity really adds to what I try and capture. But the real key thing for me is that connection with the community. In doing this in public spaces exposes me to those conversations that may occur, and then I gain knowledge and make connections with people in that way. I think the really nice thing about using this in the city environment is that we're just a very small cog in the wheel in the machine that is the city. I find it so fascinating to think of art canvases, not an A4 piece of paper or an A3 piece of paper, that it's a 6 meter high wall. So it really starts to make me think about the scale of place. I think one thing that's really important with using this, because of the simplification process, it allows you to capture the essence of place in a very quick manner. So always adjusting, always checking proportion, all by eye, but that's how I do a normal drawing anyway. So you're using exactly the same tools to do a normal sketch on paper. You're just using
a different medium on a different surface. So it's about making choices, quick decisions about how to simplify what you see. The best tip I can give about trying tape drawings is to just totally go for it and not be precious about it. And I think that's one thing I find is that they're not refined artworks, they're very rough and robust and respond to the context, the urban context. So I think that that's really a tip, is to be brave and just kind of go for it. Obrigado.